I have fully completed 100 games on Steam. I got all the achievements in every single title I'm going to mention in this video. I searched every hook, every corner. I did everything. Also, when I say 100 games, I'm actually lying because it's actually like 110 games. But 100 just sounds better, you know. This is a journey I have been on for over 2 years now, completing game after game, challenge after challenge, and it has been one hell of a roller coaster ride, and I am going to rank every single one of them based on their difficulty to fully complete, because I've completed a handful of easy games, but I've also dabbled with some tomfoolery that made me want to use an eraser on my brain to smooth it all out. And you might be wondering why I'm doing this. Well, you see, I'm insane. Alright, let's get started. I wanted to get this one out of the way immediately because, well, it's Hollow Knight. It's the first game people think of when they bat an eye towards me. This is a tough, challenging Metroidvania to 100% fully complete, but most achievements are obtainable by just doing the main story content. Sometimes it deviates you by doing a goofy little side quest, but most of it is doable without too much stress. This is still a really tough and challenging game. The two achievements that really stick out are Steel Heart, where you need to obtain 100% completion on Steel Soul mode, and Embrace the Void, which requires you to defeat the 5th Pantheon, aka defeat every boss in a row without dying. It's hard, but not impossible. The GOAT when it comes to tower defense. I'm sorry, Bloons fans, it's the harsh truth. To fully complete Plants vs. Zombies quote-unquote Game of the Year edition, the game requires you to defeat the main campaign twice, obtain every trophy in minigames, puzzle and survival, unlock every plant, some other obscure things, and the two big ones. China Shop, which requires you to reach a streak of 15 in Vase Breaker, and Better Off Dead. This is the hardest one without a doubt, because it requires you to reach a streak of 10 in iZombie, and iZombie is such a pile of RNG garbage. Whoever came up with this minigame, you suck, okay? You just straight up suck. The game itself isn't super difficult, but those last two achievements definitely bump it up a bit. Funny boomer shooter where you can do front flips for no reason in the slightest, has a lot of quote-unquote secret areas and room achievements, like finding and beating a secret stage, finding the baby room, finding dope fish, finding a Rachel's secret, whatever this is supposed to mean. It also makes you do some other specific garbage, but again, the two that really stick out are True 100%, which makes you obtain the Completionist award in every level, and Don't Drop It, which requires you to pick up a bar of soap in every level. The thing is, you can obtain both of these achievements on the easiest difficulty, so it isn't super difficult, but it's just a bit of a grind. I like Gato Roboto, a very short and cute little Metroidvania. Most achievements in this game are pretty easy, it's just doing all the content, but the three that stick out are Sequence Break, finish the Heater Core level before acquiring the Spin Jump, which is a bit tricky and finicky, but totally doable. Danger Cat, finishing the game without collecting a health upgrade, and the Real Nutcracker Speedrun, where you have to finish the game in under 1 hour, and this is a tight ass squeeze. It took me quite a few attempts to obtain this one, and just for that, it's getting bumped up a bit. Whoever came up with the achievements in this game is an evil little goober, because killing 50 screechers or killing 50 anglerfish doesn't sound bad on paper until you realize that only one screecher spawns per island, meaning you have to visit 50 of them. Hooking 5k items is also tedious. Master Survivor can suck me. Former Glory, Artistic Collection, Expert Warthog Hunter. It is just a gigantic, tedious and unfun grind. The game itself is fun, but man, don't try to go for all the achievements, for the love of God. Fully completing Resident Evil games is always just a fun time, because they always heavily focus on replayability, and to complete Resident Evil 2 Remake, you need to finish the game about 7 times or so with different goals in mind. You also have some bonus side modes to complete, which are really fun, but if I had to choose which achievements are the hardest, I would probably choose a Lore Explorer and both hardcore achievements. It can be pretty tough at times, but it's fun tough. Just like RE2, RE4 requires you to beat the game about 7 times or so, with once again, different goals in mind. The 2 achievements that really stick out are S+ Investigator, where you have to beat the main story on hardcore mode with an S+ rank, and Gun Fanatic, which you get after obtaining every gun. Now, most guns are pretty easy to find, but the Infinite Rocket Launcher, Chicago Sweeper and Hand Cannon are a bit iffy to get. Again, going for 100% completion is tough, but it's fun tough. Yeah, this game sucks. It isn't even hard to 100% fully complete. All the achievements are obtainable over time by just playing the game normally. The hardest one is Raccoon City Survival Squad, but even that one is just like, okay. Honestly, the hardest part about the entire game is making a Capcom ID account, so just for that, it's getting bumped up a tier. I don't want to talk too much about this game because I feel like it's something everyone should experience blindly. That being said though, the chivas in this title are kind of a joke in my opinion. The hardest one is Eye of Steel, where you can't blink for 30 seconds. If you're confused by that sentence, this is a game you play with your camera, and every time you blink you jump forward in time. It's a cool concept for a little gimmick game, but again, the achievements are a straight up joke. Besides having the best video game title of all time, Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion is a pretty easy game to 100%. 80% of the achievements are obtained by just playing the game normally once again. The hardest one is probably question mark, but that's because it's random chance, not because it's actually difficult. Still though, the overall game has some level of challenge to it. I feel like a lot of you guys think I'm gonna immediately put this one in infuriating, but I'm gonna put Elden Ring into the hard tier, because don't get me wrong, okay, this title is genuinely tough and even at certain instances frustratingly annoying, but if you look at the achievements, they honestly aren't that bad. The hardest ones are probably collecting all the legendary weapons and equipment, which is just a bit grindy at the worst of times. The real hardest part about Elden Ring is beating it for the first time. It's a hard-ass game, but not impossible to 100%. Stray is an achievement where you just sleep for an hour. And I think that says it all. This game isn't super hard to fully complete. The 3 achievements that stick out to me are I Remember and Badges, which are your standard collection-based achievements, and I Am Speed, which is a speedrun-based achievement, kinda similar to Gato Roboto, but unlike that game, this game is a lot more lenient with your time, so you can do it in like one really simple run. I'll put it in doable. This is a very short and cute little Lego puzzle game, and that's all I can really say about it. The achievements are literally you just beating the game, which takes less than 2 hours to do. Again, it's a cute little game, but it goes into baby mode. It's a baby game. Evo is a very snazzy cooperative platformer where you can play as a funny guy or girl, and this game is also decently tough to 100% because you need to collect every single one of these tokens to earn the collector achievement. Now some of these tokens are pretty easy to get, but others can be pretty damn difficult. There are also 3 minigame based achievements which I think are kinda BS. You can play a minigame by pulling a rope that randomly spawns on a level every few minutes. The thing is, most of the time you just end up waiting for this stupid rope to spawn to then only have a chance to get the right minigame. The rest of the game is definitely challenging though, so I'm gonna put it in that tier. The achievements in this game are an absolute blast to grind for. They really test your skills without making you feel like breaking something. The three hardest ones are definitely Speedlunky, speedrun the game in under 8 minutes, Seen It All, complete 100% of the journal, which means you have to pick up every item and defeat every enemy and boss, and the Real Nutcracker Low Scorer, where you need to complete a run without collecting any treasure, which doesn't sound hard on paper, but this is a game all about collecting treasure. The levels are covered in gold and gems, meaning you have to tiptoe around everything. It's hard as hell, but it's also fun as hell. Spelunky 2 is basically just more Spelunky, with new secrets, new weapons, new enemies, new areas, and a handful of new features and quality of life improvements. It's the perfect way to do a sequel, but with that being said though, here's the funny thing. The three hardest achievements in Spelunky 2 are the exact same as in Spelunky 1. Speedlunky, Seen It All, and Low Scorer. Like, they are literally identical. And once again, it's hard as hell, but also fun as hell. I personally find Spelunky 2 harder than 1, but they are both a real challenge. Gang Beast achievements aren't even hard, like in the slightest, so I should really just put this in easy tier, but here is the thing, okay? It doesn't matter what you do or how many times you attempt to obtain one. They just don't want to trigger. I don't know what it is or what bozo coded it, but it's just broken. The hardest one is quote-unquote step down. Now for step down, you have to break a staircase in the tower stage. That's it, but for some reason, the achievement just doesn't want to trigger. After attempting it so many times, I did finally manage to get it, but man, is it busted. If we lived in a perfect world where Gang Beast achievements properly worked, Sit Down would probably be the hardest one. I'll put it in doable tier just because the achievements do not want to trigger, otherwise it would have gone in easy tier. Stick Fight the game is just 2D Gang Beasts with actual functional achievements. The hardest ones are probably, whatever this one is called. Yeah, whatever she said. And White Death, where you have to kill 77 enemies with a sniper rifle. I wish there was more to talk about, but it's a goddamn stick fighting party game. It's fun to play, but not hard to fully complete. This is the first ever game I bought on Steam all the way back in 2012. Me and Flash Isaac go together like a PB&J sandwich, so it's only fitting that this is a hard-ass game to fully complete, because I'm such a cool, hardcore and swag dude. I mean, look at me. Look how cool I am. And to fully complete Flash Isaac, you have to defeat like so many things. Complete every challenge, pick up every item, do everything in hard mode with every character, and like a bunch of other stuff. Man, it's tough and super unforgiving, especially hard mode. The eternal enemies are super annoying, so just for that, I'm putting it in infuriating tier. But if I'm honest, it's kinda baby compared to... Guys, like, come on, it's Isaac. Okay, anyway, to fully complete The Binding of Isaac, Rebirth, Afterbirth, Afterbirth Plus, Repentance, whatever you want to call it, you have to defeat Mom, Boss Rush, Mom's Heart, Satan, the Lamb, Isaac, Blue Baby, Mega Satan, Hush, Delirium, Mother, the Beast, and Ultra Greedier with all 34 characters. And that's not even mentioning the 45 different challenges and all the other garbage surrounding it. Fully completing The Binding of Isaac, Repentance is like finishing your education and paying off all your debts. Easy infuriating tier. Goddamn, man. Gnog is a short little goofy puzzle game about wacky faces, and that's all I can really say about it. I completed the entire game with all the achievements in less than 2 hours. The hardest one is Ghost, where you have to complete a puzzle without being spotted, which isn't hard in the slightest. Again, it's a funny little title, but it's a little baby boo-boo game. Hellpie is a very classy, old-school collectathon platformer with the gimmick that everything is just disgusting and gross. The only two achievements that really stick out are wow, such endurance, which makes you collect every collectible, which is fun since this is a collectathon after all, and bad taste. This one just genuinely sucks because you have to unlock every single outfit in the game. You can unlock outfits by buying them with gems in the clothing shop. The thing is, you end up just replaying a small section over and over and over again for about 2 hours or so because it's the optimal way to get gems. Still though, it isn't awful, just a little annoying. Here is another fairly easy one. One Shot. The achievements in this title are kinda pointless though. The two that quote unquote stick out, they really don't stick out, are Ram Whisperer, where you have to do the hurt minigame in one attempt, and Extreme Bartering, where you just have to trade a handful of items. But the thing that bothers me about this is that the achievements kinda defeat the point of the game, because you know, it's called One Shot. Making me replay the game to get some achievements is just silly, man. Easy tier. To fully complete Scorn, you just have to complete the game and do like an extra little small puzzle at the start again. Yeah, that's it. The game itself isn't super easy baby mode like Lego's Builder's Journey, but come on, man, couldn't you add like, I don't know, like a speedrun achievement at least? Like, this shit is lame as hell, man. I like the game itself, it's very artsy and eye-catching, but fully completing it is a cakewalk. Here's the thing, okay, Call of Duty games are usually separated into 3 chunks: a campaign, a multiplayer, and a third side mode, which is usually zombies. The thing is, older titles counted these as separate executables, so the multiplayer in Black Ops 1 on Steam is a separate download from the base game, and Steam also counts them as separate games on your perfected game list, so I'm just gonna roll with that and count them separate. It's just a little bit of quirky, old-school coding garbage, but I'm gonna take that to my advantage so I can inflate the number of titles I fully completed. Shout out to capitalism. With that being said though, fully completing Black Ops 1 makes me want to puke out my own eyes, mainly because of the campaign, because you have to beat the whole thing on veteran difficulty. Now, veteran difficulty on Black Ops 1 is just straight up unfair. You can instantly die in a single frame and you can't do anything about it. You also have to collect all the intel and like some other specific garbage, but if you think you're done then you are incorrect, because you also have to complete every single zombie Easter egg, which, hey, if you know me, I like myself a good old game of Call of Duty Zombies, but completing the Easter eggs can be kinda finicky at times. The multiplayer, on the other hand, has a different problem, where there are only 3 achievements, but one of them, in the money, is literally unobtainable, so sadly, I had to cheat it in. That's the only rule to this quote-unquote challenge, alright? If it's unobtainable, I'm allowed to cheat it in, because, well, I can't get it. With that being said though, BO1 multiplayer goes into baby boo-boo tier. Getting the other 2 achievements is piss easy. The normal game, I'm gonna put that one in infuriating. It is genuinely that frustrating. I'm gonna speed through this one because the last one took way too long. The hardest achievements in the campaign of Black Ops 2 are Old-Fashioned and Futurist, where you have to beat the whole campaign on veteran difficulty, which isn't as frustratingly impossible as Black Ops 1, but still tough. High IQ, where you have to collect all the intel, and Giant Accomplishment, which makes you complete every single challenge, which is really tedious. I'm putting this one in hard tier. Zombies is a bit easier though. The hardest ones are once again completing all the big boy Easter eggs, which is decently difficult, so I'm gonna put that one in challenging. And for the multiplayer, there are again unobtainable achievements, so I had to cheat them in. The hardest one is reaching Prestige 1, which isn't super hard, but it's just a bit grindy, so I'm gonna put that one in doable. Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 were both pretty hard to fully complete, but Black Ops 3 takes it to the goddamn extreme. The zombies is doable and a lot of fun, but the campaign and multiplayer are the definition of a slog. The multiplayer itself isn't horrendous, but it's just filled to the brim with hackers, so it's absolutely zero fun to play, and the campaign is an absolute dreadful experience. First of all, it isn't fun or interesting. Second of all, you have to get every single one of these badges, which requires you to do literally everything. Now, the hardest things you have to do are completing all the challenges and completing the game on realistic difficulty, which means if you get hit once, you're dead. The rest of them are doable, but still, it is absolutely obnoxious. Easy as infuriating tier. Superflight is a short little high score flying game. The hardest achievement is probably gaining 40k points, but even that one is really easy to get. Again, there isn't much more to talk about. A little baby game. Yet another really easy one. Most of the achievements are you just completing days, but there are a few where you have to do some specific things, like picking up a little baby turtle. I mean, look at him, man. Look how adorable he is. Aw, but still, fully completing it is pretty damn easy. I absolutely adore Cuphead, man, and fully completing it is really fun. The achievements that stick out to me are Pacifist, where you have to complete all run and gun levels without killing enemies, and Beat the Devil at its own game, where you have to complete the entire game on expert difficulty. You also have to fully complete the DLC, which is absolutely goated, but there isn't like one achievement I can point towards for that. Still though, the game is pretty damn tough, but it's also pretty damn fun. This game just makes me happy, man, because you play as a little red blob that just looks funny. Fully completing it though isn't super hard, but the two achievements that are kinda annoying to get are Dancing Machine and Collector. For Dancing Machine you have to complete the dancing minigame without missing a beat, which doesn't sound bad, but if you finish the minigame you can't redo it, so you have to keep closing the game every time you want to attempt it again, otherwise you have to replay the entire game again. And then the hardest one is Collector, where you have to collect every trophy, which again doesn't sound hard, but certain areas can't be revisited once you leave them, meaning you have to again reset your save file if you want to get all the trophies. It isn't super difficult to fully complete, but also not super easy. Post Void is a straight up acid trip. 80% of the time I'm just rushing forward without knowing what's going on around me. So that's why I'm really thankful that the achievements are fairly simple. The only one that really matters is Reach the Void, where you just have to complete the game. But in the case of Post Void, that's all it really needs. It's a $3 game. It isn't super hardcore difficult, but still completing it can be quite tough. This is a very short, small party basketball game where you control a giant-sized mech with a few buttons, and for some reason, fully completing it is unnecessarily tedious. It's just a bunch of dumb busy work, like flying upside down for a whole mile, which is like 20 minutes. Like, okay. Like, why? The two achievements that stick out though are Big Dipper, where you have to score 100 goals, which yeah, means you just end up farming it out for 45 minutes straight. And Finger Roll, where you have to score without touching the magnet, which is a tad bit awkward. It isn't impossible, but definitely not easy. Helltaker is fairly simple to 100%. All you have to do is complete the game, do a small little side puzzle, and then complete the Exam Taker bonus level. It has a cute art style and it's decently challenging, but there isn't a lot to it. It isn't baby boo boo mode, but it still goes into easy tier. Minute has some fun achievements to go for, with the two that stick out being Hi, My Name is Mary, where you have to complete the game with all the items, coins and hearts, aka just do everything in a run, and Minimalist, where you have to beat the game in less than 25 runs. If you're confused by that, Minute is a game you play in intervals of 60 seconds because it's called Minute. And once those 60 seconds are over, you respawn back at your house with some of the progress in the world being saved. It's a funny gimmick that doesn't overstay its welcome, and fully completing it, it's decently tough, so I'll put it in doable. Minute Fundraiser, get it? Because all profits go to charity. Like, that's a pretty clever pun, I like that. The only achievement that sticks out is Licensed, but that's because it's one of those gain every other achievement kind of achievements. I guess the real hardest achievements are Minute, where you have to beat the game in under a minute, which is just like the first game, whoa! And again, where you have to beat 3 laps in a row. I think the overall game is harder than Minute itself, but not hard enough to bump it up a tier. Victory 3. Yeah, that's it, just a Victory 3. The other achievements are doable. I guess Master Spiker is a bit difficult because you have to complete the game without using your gun, meaning you have to use your spikes, and well, your spikes kinda can't kill flying enemies 90% of the time, so you have to get a bit creative. But still, Victory 3 is the hardest one without a doubt, because you have to beat the game on Nightmare difficulty, and your health just vanishes in an instant on this difficulty. It's a fun, tough as nails challenge, so I'm just gonna put it in challenging, only seems fitting. Fully completing the Henry Stickmin collection is quite easy. All you have to do is get all possible fails and endings, and then you need to skim through every level and mission to collect every funny Among Us imposter, that's not some sort of joke, and collect every single bio, which you just get by clicking on characters in the background. Some of them are kinda annoying, but it isn't too grindy. They should rename this game to The Wild Adventures of Balls McGee, because it's pretty much canon now. This game is pretty simple to 100%. The hardest achievements are Demon DIY, where you have to craft every item, and I guess Craft Slayer, where you have to break everything on the island. I love this game to bits. It's absolutely brimming with personality and passion, but it's an easy ass game to fully complete. I have such a love-hate relationship with this game, man. On one side, I think it's really cool, but on the other side, I can't help but see all the missed opportunities. But hey, at least fully completing it is pretty fun. A lot of the achievements are you just doing specific things once again, with the 3 hardest ones being Death Day, where you have to kill every underwear-wearing bozo in every level, Ghost at the Feast, where you have to kill all 3 targets at the party without being spotted, and Clean-ish Hands, where you have to kill all visionaries in a single loop without killing any other NPC. Fully completing Deathloop isn't easy by any means, but it's definitely not hard. Milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag of milk inside a bag is a short little horror story. Yeah, that's it. There are only 3 achievements, which you can all get in 20 minutes. It's a spooky little story, okay? Don't get me wrong, but it's a definition of a little baby boo-boo game. Trover Saves the Universe is a comedy adventure platformer with a bunch of Rick and Morty humor sprinkled throughout it, and fully completing it is quite the pickle, you get it? You get the joke? God, I am so funny. There are 4 achievements in this game that stick out in my opinion. Worst Guest Ever, which requires you to kill a handful of NPCs. You actually did it, where you have to throw 100 paper balls into this little basketball hoop trash bin. And then the 2 hardest ones, Let's Sling These Babies and the Ultimate Happy Ending, which requires you to collect all these power babies, who are basically just collectibles. It isn't impossible or anything, but still, going for 100% completion can be quite challenging. Another game with a bunch of Rick and Morty humor sprinkled throughout it, but this time it's a first-person shooter and there are only 2 achievements that stick out. Lock-Lock's Genocide, where you have to open every Lock-Lock's chest in the game, and Mods Please Ban, and goddamn does this achievement just suck. To achieve Mods Please Ban, you have to unlock every Bounty Hunter forum post, which you can kind of compare as little side challenges, but like these challenges are just not fun to complete, man, because it's just a bunch of boring ass farming with no cohesion. And besides that, like, this isn't a problem anymore, but when this game launched, this achievement was completely bugged and unobtainable. The game itself is cool, I had a lot of fun with it, but that last achievement is just straight up bad and poorly designed. Not super difficult, but overall a tad bit challenging. Alright, enough wannabes. It's time for the real deal. The Rickest of the Ricks, if you get what I mean. Rick and Morty Virtual Reality is an evil-ass game to fully complete. Like, this title's sole purpose is there to just taunt you and smear poo-poo in your face. All because of one single achievement. Fully charged. Now, every other achievement is completely fine, with the hardest one being Emperor of Soundwaves, where you just have to collect some tapes that are laying around, but fully charged is just straight up evil, man. To achieve this achievement, you need to get a score of 900 or higher in the battery charging minigame, which at the start doesn't seem bad, but oh lord, man, does it just suck. It's the complete solar opposite of fun. You see what I'm doing right here, right? Yeah, you have to do this for about 12 minutes straight without making more than 3 mistakes, and you have to do all of this in VR, so it's very physical. It's ludicrously obnoxious and stupid. I absolutely despise it. And the funny thing is, on PlayStation, this achievement only requires you to get a streak of 100, which is completely doable. But why the hell is it 900 on Steam? I hate this achievement with a passion, and because of that, I'm putting it in infuriating tier. Jesus Christ, man. Celeste is quite tough to fully complete, with the main challenging achievements being Impress Your Friends, where you have to collect every single strawberry, Thanks for Playing, which requires you to complete every single seaside level, and then the 2 hardest ones, you can kind of group them together, Farewell and Wow, which requires you to complete the Farewell stage and collect the funny bonus strawberry at the end of it. And the Farewell stage is hard, man. It's tough as hell. It might be really overwhelming when you see how long it took me to complete, but the whole level is quality and a lot of fun. Still definitely putting this one in hard tier though. And also, thank God there is no achievement for getting all the golden strawberries, because that would have been the end of me. This game is the complete solar opposite of Celeste, I swear. Instead of being very methodical and precise, Pizza Tower is just straight up insanity. And funnily enough, fully completing it is also on the same level of difficulty as Celeste, so they really go hand in hand. The hardest part about Pizza Tower is P-ranking every stage, which is really goddamn tough, but also really fun. I have a video on my clip channel of me just screaming every single time I get a P rank. It is an absolute blast to grind for, but still, it goes into hard tier. It is hard. The Frog Detective Trilogy are very short comedy-based visual novel-esque games where you solve a goofy little mystery in each title. You might also know the first game from a clip where Jerma goes small enemy spider. All 3 of these games are really easy to fully complete though. Completing each game is about an hour or so, and if you want to get the extra achievements, it might take you another 20 minutes max. It's cute, it's adorable, it's funny, but it's also very easy. Completing Job Simulator is pretty simple. The whole game is split up into 4 chapters, and each chapter has an achievement for beating it and a bonus achievement where you have to do something specific. And like the rarest achievement is reading through the goddamn credits. Like, what is this? It's a funky little game, I admit that, but it's fairly easy. Oh, Neon White. I really like this game, but there is one achievement that can go suck some peanuts. White Hell Rush complete. For this achievement, you have to complete the White Hell Rush, which is every single level strength after each other, and you have to complete all of them without dying. So it's basically completing the entire game in one sitting. And yes, it's difficult. It's 14 hours of grinding difficult, because one minor little itsy bitsy mistake means you have to redo everything all over again. The rest of the achievements are a lot easier, but that final one easily bumps it up to the hard tier. God damn, is it fun as hell though. This is a short little interactable comic, and I don't fully understand why it has achievements to begin with. The hardest one is probably No Margin for Error, where you need to complete the comic in less than 80 panels. So yeah, this goes into the Baby Baba Booey baby tier. All I remember about Flower is that fully completing it was just really boring for me, mainly because of two achievements, Nature and Dream. For Nature, you have to bloom 10,000 flowers, which is yet again another grindy achievement. And for Dream, you have to find all the secret flowers, which is just, okay, like, I'm sorry to all my flower fans, okay, but I just didn't like playing this game. You just kind of float around in this game with not a lot of context. It's a very pretty and artsy game with a bunch of beautiful environments, but it's just not for me. Still though, fully completing it is doable. It isn't super difficult. The last time I talked about Fall Guys achievements, a lot of you guys said I was too harsh on it, but you know what? I'm still gonna stand my ground. Infallible is of course the big one where you have to win 5 games in a row. If you want to be a little sweat, you can grind it out with 3 other friends that know what they are doing, but it's still just super unfair. Winning 5 games in a row in Fall Guys is not an easy task, but that's not the only crappy achievement, okay? Mad Trendy, Head Turner, and Bargain Bucket are all achievements that forces you to buy microtransactions to get it. This sucks. The rest of the achievements are fine and completely doable, but fully completing, it still sucks. I hate it. This game is mad underrated, man. It is really fun to just jump around and do some funky tricks. Fully completing it is also a real challenge because the mechanics are quite hard to learn, but once you manage to get a grip on them, it honestly isn't super difficult. The 2 achievements that stick out are one for the Racket Books, where you need to get a single combo worth more than 3 million points, and Glutton for Punishment, where you need to complete all the challenges in the Out for Blood campaign, which you can kind of compare to a New Game Plus mode. Not impossible, but definitely challenging. I'm going down the road feeling bad. It's getting over it. Like, do I really need to put the Markiplier rage clips on screen for you to know what this is? There are only 3 achievements in this game, like, in total. Win the game once, win the game twice, and win the game 50 times. And funnily enough, the hardest one is winning the game once. Eventually, you learn how the physics works and how to abuse certain tricks and stress, and you just end up becoming really good at getting over it. So good to the point that climbing this stupid mountain isn't super difficult anymore. But still, that first run is an absolute disaster and a complete rage fest. I really like the message this game is trying to convey, but it's definitely infuriating. Yet another really cool game with quite laughable achievements. The hardest ones are probably Not Rested for the Wicked, where you need to complete all the Torment challenges, and Not Shaken Nor Stirred, where you have to complete a level without shooting off the beat, which just requires you to be a little focused for a bit. Cool game with awesome music, and the game itself is decently challenging, but achievement hunting is quite easy, so I'll meet it in the middle. Death's Door is a game that does achievements very well in my opinion, with the 2 that stick out being Lord of Chores, where you have to 100% fully complete the game, which is a lot of fun, but the hardest one without a doubt is Academy of Umbrellas, where you have to complete the entire game only using an umbrella that deals 50% damage, and this is a really fun challenge, and a good challenge goes into the challenging tier. It only seems fitting. the most bungerest of games, aka if Pokemon was good and not a complete slopfest. Fully completing this game is also a lot of fun, mainly because of the gotta catch 'em all achievement, where you have to catch every unique species of Bugsnax. This is definitely not the hardest achievement to go for, but it's the most time consuming one. You also have to complete the bonus DLC level, fully transform every Grumpus into a disgusting food monster, and find 10 really cool swag hats. Look how gangsta this little guy looks. Not super difficult, but you definitely need somewhat of a brain to fully complete it. This is a short little interactive story about a breakup. A lot of people said they were really touched playing this, but it didn't really hit me. Also, getting all the achievements took me 45 minutes, so it's cute, but it's still a little baby boo-boo baby game. This one is quite a quirky one to 100%. Of course, you have your basic collectible achievement, which you can easily get by just watching a walkthrough, but there is one achievement that is it's just too much. Hard to the core. For this achievement, you need to beat the entire game under 1 hour without dying, which, yeah, we've seen quite a few of these achievements so far, but in the case of Little Nightmares, it's just not fun. A lot of your deaths in this game feel really undeserved and cheap, but that ends up not really being a problem because of how generous the checkpoint system is. And if you take away that generous checkpoint system, the game just becomes really, really annoying and tedious. I got quite lucky when I went for this achievement, but I've heard some horror stories about it. So I'm sorry, Little Nightmares, but you're going into infuriating. Thankfully, okay, Little Nightmares 2 doesn't have some absurdly, idiotically hard achievement to get. Instead, a lot of the achievements are you, once again, doing specific things, and a few collection-based achievements. You can basically complete the entire game in 2 very, very simple playthroughs. It's a really, really fun game, but it's also a lot easier in comparison to the first one. This room is all about surviving inside a small room as long as possible while avoiding a bunch of discs that bounce around. And to fully complete it, you have to finish the game on normal and hard mode, defeat the final boss with every ability, and survive for 10 seconds in every hard room and for 20 seconds in every normal room, which is quite difficult, especially the lobotomy level on normal difficulty. I don't know who came up with this, but it's just straight up evil, okay? Definitely hard, but not hard enough to be in the hard tier. You guys remember how in Black Ops 1 the multiplayer was a separate EXE from the campaign and zombies? Well, in Advanced Warfare the multiplayer and zombies are a separate EXE from the campaign. So it's yeah, it's stupidly confusing and dumb for so I don't know why they did this. All the achievements in this quote-unquote game, which is this one and not this one, are attached to Exo Survival and Zombies. For Exo Survival you have to flip the map twice and reach the final map to activate the bonus zombie Easter egg at the end of it. And for the zombies itself, you have to do your usual song and dance, which includes completing a few challenges, varying in difficulty, and completing each one of the 4 Easter eggs, with the hardest one being without a doubt Descent. Exo Zombies always gets a lot of crap, but I unironically kinda like it. It isn't an untouchable masterpiece or anything, it is quite flawed, but it's somewhat fun. Fully completing it is also challenging, so I'll just put it there. Out of all the Call of Duty games, why did I complete this one, you might be asking, instead of, you know, playing a game with an actual soul? Yeah, I don't know. Vanguard itself is one EXE, unlike Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 1 and 2, but it's still like every other COD split into 3 separate parts. For the zombies, the hardest achievements are Grim Reaper and Death Dealer, where you have to get 10k kills and 2.5k kills with a level 3 Pack-a-Punch weapon on the map Duran Fang. For the multiplayer, it's Lead Skills, Top of the Mountain and Blink Pro, where you have to reach level 55, max out an operator and reach max level with a weapon respectively respectively. And for the campaign, you have to beat the whole thing on veteran difficulty and do some other worthless side challenges which are kinda annoying to complete. Not as difficult as the Black Ops games, but still quite tough. This is a cozy little platformer about becoming a professional friend, and all you have to do to fully complete it is collect all the collectibles, play some volleyball games, and bump 1,000 frogs. So yeah, it isn't super difficult, but it's also not super easy baby mode, so I'll bump it up a tier. Funny Duck game is funny, and me like the funny colon symbol right parenthesis symbol. This game is decently tough to fully complete because of these speedrun achievements. Each of the 4 zones give you a list of chores you have to do in that area, and to obtain the speedrun achievements you have to finish that entire list before the church bell rings. The timing is a little tight and doing everything quickly can be a bit finicky, but it's still a buttload of fun, and when you fully complete it you get a crown that you can wear, which is one of the greatest completionist awards of all time. Fully completing this game, it's completely doable, but it does require your attention somewhat. I think they had some sort of error with naming this game because it didn't really make me happy. Fully completing it is quite easy. The game is basically a bunch of puzzles, and some of those puzzles have extra bits and pieces attached to it, which you have to interact with to obtain a bunch of achievements, aka it's just doing a bunch of specific gabagoo once again. It took me a little over 2 hours to fully complete, so I'll put it in easy. I don't think it's baby mode. The director of Neon White made this game, which is super funny to me because of what a contrast it is in comparison. Unlike Neon White though, Donut County is just a very chill, funny and charming little puzzle game where you suck up things into a hole to make it bigger. There isn't really a quote-unquote hardest achievement, it's just once again doing some specific garbage. It's a very simple title that you can fully complete in less than 2 hours, but hey, sometimes that's all it really needs to be. Ball 3D is football, and the hardest achievement is winning a match. A single match, just one match, nothing more. Yeah. Alright, so before I start talking about RuneScape, if you actually want to fully complete this game from top to bottom, it will unironically take you tens of thousands of hours to do so. This is my most played game of all time, and I've maybe only completed 5% of the total content. It should be pretty obvious, but I'm talking about obtaining all the Steam achievements, not everything a game has to offer. But even with that being said, getting all the achievements in standard RuneScape is still really time consuming and tough, with the two that really stick out being 99 with a flake, where you need to reach a skill to level 99, which is just a really tedious grind, and Who's the Boss, where you need to kill 1000 of RuneScape's bosses, which is again a really tedious grind, which might sound boring, but RuneScape is all about grinding. It's about unlocking new training methods and upgrading your character slowly over time. I mean, again, there is a reason why this is my most played game of all time. It's a big time sink that just feels really rewarding, but if you just look at the achievements, I think it's hard enough to be put into the hard tier. In comparison to standard RuneScape, old school RuneScape's achievements are quite a bit easier. They are all focused on the free-to-play aspect of the game, which standard RuneScape isn't. A lot of the achievements are quite easy, like fishing up a tuna, crafting some air runes, and entering the wilderness. All the achievements are getting you ready for the real game, with the hardest one being Mighty Slayer, where you have to complete the Dragon Slayer quest, which is basically the end game of free-to-play. Again, if you want to fully complete old school RuneScape, it will take you tens of thousands of hours to do so. This is one of my favorite games of all time, but getting all the achievements for it is not as difficult as standard RuneScape, like in the slightest. This is a collection of NES-like games based on popular Devolver Digital titles like Pikuniku, Enter the Gungeon, Ape Out, and Hotline Miami. Most of the achievements are pretty easy to get. I mean, you get one for just booting up the game, but a few of them are a bit icky. Frog Slayer requires you to kill 100 frogs. Menu God requires you to open the menu 1,000 times. Like, why is this a thing? To get heavy bullets, you need to defeat the boss and enter the dungeon. And money bags requires you to collect 10,000 coins, which is just kind of repetitive and annoying. It's completely doable, but it's a tiny bit grindy. This game recently had a big content update adding a bunch of new achievements, so I had to pump in another 10 or so hours just for this video. I'm telling you, man, I'm really committed. Cult of the Lamb's achievements are mostly pretty simple. A handful of them are collecting all the things in a specific category like relics, follower skins, fleeces, and tarot cards. But one of them definitely sticks out. Leader of Leaders. This achievement requires you to indoctrinate all 5 bishops into your cult, which basically means you have to complete the entire game twice in one save file. I've given this game quite a rough time the last year or so, but it's still solid fun and quite challenging to fully complete. Oh boy, oh, not this game again, okay. So Dead Rising 1 has some of the most evil achievements I've ever laid my eyes upon. Of course you have 7-Day Survivor, where you need to actively play a side mode for 14 hours straight, but some of the other ones are also just pure evil. For Zombie Genocide, you have to kill 53,594 zombies in one playthrough, which means you have to do this for about 3 to 4 hours straight. PP Collector requires you to photograph all PP stickers, which are little PNGs all around the map. And no, it's not penis pictures, okay? We've talked about this. Transmissionary requires you to fully listen to every call from Otis, and if you didn't listen to a call from start to finish by, I don't know, going through a loading zone, for example, yeah, they will just straight up not count, and you have to replay the entire game again for one silly achievement. There are honestly a handful of more annoying achievements, but 7-Day Survivor was already enough to put it into infuriating tier, but the rest is just 200 kilograms of extra icing on the cake. It's so incredibly obnoxious, and I just can't get over it. Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 2 Off the Record are basically the same game, with Off the Record being a what-if scenario, where you play as the guy from the first game, Frank West, instead of Chuck Green, and Off the Record isn't canon, if that makes sense. Both of these games are also not as difficult as Dead Rising 1. For Dead Rising 2, the hardest achievements are all the collection-based ones, and Zombie Genocide Master, where you have to kill 72,000 zombies in one playthrough, which means you end up doing this again for 3 to 4 hours. This sucks. It also has an achievement called TK's Favorite, which requires you to win all 9 Terror in Reality minigames, which is like a little multiplayer side mode, but on Steam, it is completely bugged and unobtainable, so sadly, again, I had to cheat it in. I did come first place in all 9 minigames, but every time we finished the match, the game just crashed. Yippee! And then for Off the Record, you have to get a gold medal in all the challenges in both single player and multiplayer, photograph all PP stickers, bring Denise, which is the first survivor you save, all the way to one of the final bosses, which this is probably the hardest one to get, and kill 100,000 zombies, which thank God, okay, you can get using an exploit, because I'm not doing this again for another 5 hours. This genuinely sucks. Again, it's not as infuriating as Dead Rising 1, but they still both go into the hard tier without a doubt. Yeah, guess what? Fully completing this game is also an absolute nightmare. Who would have thought? Let's just zoom through this, okay? You have to collect every single collectible, complete the story on Nightmare difficulty, kill 100,004 zombies, obtain all the gold medals, complete every single PP trial, which a lot of these challenges are just repetitive crap, and then you need to finish all 4 of the DLC campaigns and collect every awful collectible, with the worst one being the motorbikes. You don't just have to collect them, you have to bring them back to the garage in one piece, and there are 12 of them. It's bad. Fully completing this game is just really tedious, so I'm gonna put it in infuriating. Please, no more 100,000 zombie kill achievements, okay? Please. Never mind. is a short puzzle game made in a game jam, and they actually made a full-fledged game out of that idea, which is really cool. The game jam version though is really easy to complete. It might take you 25 minutes max to get all the achievements, so I like the idea, but it still goes into baby tier. Another wacky puzzle adventure. In this game you build snowmen in confined spaces, and to fully complete it you have to beat the game normally, complete every puzzle without leaving the area the snowman is in, and complete the dream world, which is an extra little bonus area. Fun puzzles that are decently challenging to complete, but it just doesn't take a lot of time to fully complete. I'm feeling a little generous though, so I'll put it in doable. Iron Lung's achievements are once again quite easy, like 5 of them you get by just completing the game, and the other 2 are pretty simple. For burner subs you have to type SM-8 in the console. Yeah, that's it. And for you've played this before, you need to photograph the top right node first. The game itself is spooky and somewhat tough to complete, but still, getting all the achievements is once again pretty easy. So apparently this game takes place inside of a dream of the guy you play as in Iron Lung. Okay, I guess that's kinda goofy. The game itself is also just like Iron Lung, pretty easy to fully complete, with the hardest achievement being defeating the game on Goblin mode. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory and simple, so once again, you go into easy tier. Fully completing Terraria is just a hassle, man. The achievement most people would probably point towards is Supreme Helper Minion, where you have to complete 200 fishing quests for the angler. And now, first of all, fishing in this game is just... well, fishing in any game is just boring, but making me do 1 quest per in-game day for 200 days is just stupid. This is also how you get certain phone parts, which is another achievement, but it's just monotonous. I do not like it. You also have Feast of Midas, the Great Slime Mitosis, and Good Riddance, which all fall into the same ballpark of stupidity. I like Terraria itself, but getting all the achievements is just dumb. It's really dumb.
Flowing through the seas of time, memories that were left behind.
Ah yes, the classic game where you send furries to hell. Fully completing this title can be quite a challenge depending on how you tackle it. The first 2 are honestly kinda stupid, Sealed Lips and Loose Lips. This is one of those pick a path achievements, meaning you have to choose between them. So if you want to get both of them, you have to either roll back your save file or replay the game from the start to get the other one. You also have Collector, where you have to craft and collect a bunch of resources, dishes and materials, but the hardest one is definitely the Happy Dance. For this achievement you need to reach every spirit to ecstatic mood at least once. The thing is, in this game, well, like I said, you kinda send furries to hell, so if you forget to reach a spirit to ecstatic mood, you can't really get it anymore, so you have to either roll back your save file or replay the game. It's a very cute and touchy game, and I think overall it's quite challenging. I love ripping people into small little pieces, and the only 2 achievements that are really worth mentioning are the New Reality, where you just have to finish the game, and Jarge Stoltz, where you have to find and break all 9 containment units. Getting all the achievements honestly isn't difficult in the slightest, but the game itself is quite challenging, and because of that I'm bumping it up to the easy tier. Risk of Rain 2 follows the Isaac way of doing achievements, where there isn't really a quote-unquote hardest one. Instead, each achievement is attached to an unlock, like a playable character, item, skin, ability, or a run-altering artifact. This also includes all the unlockables in the Survivors of the Void DLC. It's overall quite difficult. It took me over 100 hours to get everything, so I think it should definitely be in hard tier.
It's lit on Liverno, it's lit on Liverno just for me.
Little Inferno actually recently got achievement support, which is pretty cool for a 10-year-old title. Fully completing it is also decently tough, with the 3 that stick out being Super Shopper, where you have to buy every item in the catalog 3 times, all combos and naughty and nice combos, where you need to find every single combo in the base game and DLC, and finally Hug Miss Nancy. This one is a bit tricky to get. At the start of the game you get a ticket for a free hug, and all you have to do is bring that ticket all the way to the end of the game to hug this monstrosity. The thing is, you usually accidentally burn this ticket, so whoopsie, you can't get it anymore. Overall, it's not insanely difficult, but still somewhat of a challenge. There is this puzzle game named The Witness, and from what I've heard, this is a really stupid and annoying game. Well, The Looker is a parody of that game, with some of the dumbest puzzles I've ever seen in a video game. There are only 2 achievements worth mentioning: Investigator and On Rails. For Investigator, you have to find all the audio recordings, and for On Rails, you have to get 600 points in this little minigame. It's overall really simple to get all the achievements. It shouldn't take longer than an hour, and because of that, it's baby. Oh, it's time for another round of Foco beating Security Breach into the ground. Fun times! I think there are 3 achievements in this game that are kinda dumb. Very Important Person and Lost and Found require you to collect all the collectibles, which in the case of this game, it sucks because a few of them are missable. And I guess Hide and Seek Master, where you have to beat the entire game without using a hiding spot, which can be a bit finicky if you do it legit. But guys, we all know that Security Breach is a broken ass mess, so by doing some stupid garbage, you can easily get the Venny ending by just like clipping through walls. It might take you an hour or so, even less. But still, those collection-based achievements are just evil, and I hate them. I hate this entire game, but giving credit where credit is due, I guess it's somewhat challenging. This is a short and quirky little platformer, and the 3 achievements that stick out are Golden Perfection, I Need Ice Cream Right Now, and Thorough Explorer, which all require you to S-rank every stage with every character. You can get 2 S-ranks per stage, one for completing a level without dying, and one for collecting all the collectibles in one run. And you might have guessed it, but you have to do this 3 times, 1 time for every character, which honestly might sound boring, but this game is made with that concept in mind, so it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't call it hard, but not easy, so doable it is. This is yet another game that just kinda plays itself. If you want to get all the achievements, you have to pay a bit of attention, and at the worst you have to replay some sections, which might take you an extra hour max. It's a cool and unique story with some fun visual gags, but again, baby boo boo baby baba baby. Okay, so here is quite a chunky one. You can split the achievements of this game into 2 parts, the campaign and the very mediocre multiplayer. I guess you also have like the little like make your own stage thing, but I'm not gonna count those because those are piss easy. For the campaign, the hardest ones are Every Nook and Cranny and Historian, which require you to collect a bunch of Gabagoo, and What Else You Got, where you have to complete every single challenge, which honestly, all 3 of these achievements aren't that bad, like in the slightest, but the multiplayer is where they go too far. Beauty is Pain and Computing with Style. These achievements suck. They are horrendous. You know, in Call of Duty multiplayer, where once you hit max level, you can prestige and do the whole thing over again with some extra bonuses unlocked. Well, in Doom 2016, they had the same idea, which is completely fine, but they attached achievements to that. For Beauty is Pain, which is the hardest one of the 2, you have to reach Prestige 8 to unlock a piece of the Cyber Demonic armor. Why is this a thing? This sucks. Now, to be fair, I didn't do this. I got all the other multiplayer achievements, and I only hit Prestige 1, so what I did is I modded the game so my XP was times 10, which means yeah, I might have cheated it in, but there's no skill involved with it. It's just wasting my time for the fun of it, and it's not just a few hours, it's like 40 or so hours. It's dumb, I hate it. If those 2 achievements weren't in this game, I would have put it a lot lower, but because they are in the game, it's going automatically into infuriating. It's pathetic. So this title is quite hard to understand and grasp, so bear with me, okay? The two hardest achievements I think are Godslayer and Bookworm. For Godslayer you have to defeat the final boss 6 times, which is simple enough to understand, but for the Bookworm achievement you have to unlock the whole encyclopedia. The way you do that is by unlocking and finding all the tiles, enemies, resources and supplies, and the way you do that is by combining tiles and resources together. It's weird, this is a weird ass game. For example, you can place mountains and rocks to increase your health, but if you place 10 of them, a goblin hut will spawn that can spawn goblins. But if that goblin hut is next to a swamp, it can also spawn goblin archers. It's a lot of this, where you have to combine tiles together to unlock new enemies. I hope that makes sense. The game itself is also quite difficult, so I think it deserves to be in the hard tier. The Unholy Trilogy of Pure Garbage. Starting with the first one that caused a crap storm. This game's achievements are just stupid. 7 of them are obtainable by walking out of bounds. I wish that was a joke, but it isn't. Look what you have to do. What is this? This feels like a glitch. This is just like really dumb, but they aren't that hard to get. The actual 2 hardest achievements are Shoot 'em Up, where you have to solve some obscure puzzle to obtain a toy gun, and Don't Bite Snow White, where you have to grow some stupid tree that takes up to 2 hours to fully grow. I want to put it in easy, but this game is such a broken pile of obscure shittery that I'm gonna bump it up to doable. Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek also has achievements where you quote-unquote glitch out of bounds. Like, I can't get over how incredibly lame this is. This feels lazy, really lazy. Besides that, all the other ones are pretty simple, but again, this game is such a broken pile of obscure shittery. It isn't as bad as Hello Neighbor 1 though, so I'm gonna put it in easy tier. And then finally, Hello Neighbor 2. All you have to do in this game is beat the game and pet a dog. LOL. This is a really cheap knockoff of Dead by Daylight within the Hello Neighbor universe. Fun fact, there is an official Roblox version of this title, and it's yeah, it's pretty bad, just like the base game. The hardest achievement is Totally Secret Neighbor, where you have to win without turning into the neighbor. You do that by just sabotaging the game and hoarding keycards. It's super lame, which, I mean, it kind of fits this franchise. If I'm honest, the rest of them are completely doable, but it's just monotonous. Not an easy tier. This is a game where you relive the same 12 minutes over and over again, and it's kinda gross because it turns out that you're dating your sister without knowing it. Yikes! Fully completing it is pretty simple though, you just have to get all the endings and do some specific stuff. I really don't want to talk about this title more because it just makes me really uneasy. I'll put it in doable. Psychonauts 2 is basically an acid trip masked as a 3D platformer. This game is seriously underrated, and all the hardest achievements of this game are connected to the collectibles. You have to tag all the emotional baggage, achieve rank 100, find all the figments, and acquire all the upgrades. It's basically just going into each world and collecting everything there is to collect, which is a lot of fun. The hardest one is probably collecting all the figments, but with a bit of sweat and tears, you can easily do it in around 25 hours or so. It isn't impossible, but I still think it deserves to be challenging. The hardest part about Sonic Frontiers is trying to endure it, but just like Psychonauts 2, fully completing it should take around 25 hours or so. The achievements that stick out are Threats Identified, where you have to defeat every Guardian type, Expert Historian, where you have to view every side story. This one is just stupid because of shit like this. Wow, I feel, very touchy. And then these 4, which require you to talk to this little guy to level up all the quote-unquote skills. I might not like this game, I showed my disinterest in it plenty of times, but I still think it deserves to be in challenging tier, just because it is so monotonous and annoying to play. This is a cutesy top-down battle royale where you play as an animal, so you basically play as a furry. Some of the achievements are just stupid though, and 3 of them stick out in my opinion. Big Boom requires you to get 10 grenade kills, Claws and Effects 20 melee kills, and roll out 50 hamster ball kills. It's pretty simple, but also kinda tedious. The other achievements are self-explanatory and completely doable, but it's just grindy, so I'm gonna put it in challenging. I have been dreading to cover this one. The Quarry is a very linear story-based game where your quote-unquote choices impact the story. The game itself is fine, it's a little corny, but it adds to the charm of it. But the achievements are beyond stupid and they enter the lunacy territory. This game wants you to fully beat it like 6 times with different goals in mind. You have to do a run where you infect everyone, a run where you kill everyone, a run where Ryan is the only remaining survivor, a run where you kill all the Hacketts, a run where Caitlyn is the only remaining survivor, a run where you reunite Lara and Max together, and like a bunch more. And it's so obnoxious because there are no save points. Once you're done with a run, you can't go back to a certain point in the story. No, you have to fully replay the entire game again. It's dumb, it sucks, I hate it, it's a stupid ass game. I love these 2 little games, man. They are very simple exploration titles where you just look at funny stuff. It's great, I love it. The hardest achievements in the first game are Creepin', where you have to kill the final boss in this little bonus minigame thing. Binge, where you have to eat 20 of these banana slugs in one session. And the weird ending, which requires you to tag up every location so you can get the weird ending, yeah, obviously. Sludge Life 2 is also on about the same level of difficulty. I would say it's a tad bit more vague on what to do, but not by much. The hardest achievements in this game are Managing, where you have to collect all the music tapes, Save Hands, where you have to open up all the saves, and Grandma's Love, which once again requires you to tag up every location so you can get the Uzi ending. Both games honestly aren't super difficult to fully complete, so I'm gonna drop both of them into the easy tier. This game is stupid, but it's also kind of funny. Most achievements are pretty simple. I mean, one of them is you just walking an X amount of steps, but 4 of them are really silly. Vegan requires you to beat the game without eating meat. Spelunker requires you to explore every single cave. Get Closure requires you to find all missing passengers. This is probably the hardest one. And Bad Father, where you have to survive for 100 days. So it's basically a light version of Master Survivor from Raft. And we all know how I feel about that one. The last time I talked about this game, I said it was pretty easy to beat, but honestly, it's quite challenging. I was just being a little baby about it. I'm feeling generous once again though, so I'm gonna put it into the hard tier. Just please don't make me cut down another 1,000 trees, please. I went on a big ass rant last time I talked about this game, and for good reason, because Highly Decorated is just dumb. For this achievement, you have to complete 100 daily tidies, which is basically doing 100 puzzles in the span of, you guessed it, 100 days. By the way, this used to be 365 days. LOL! Honestly, this wouldn't be super annoying if there were more than 10 of them that they just end up repeating over and over again. It's just kind of boring, with the worst one being the snowflake one. I am not a fan of this, it's just kind of monotonous. The rest of them are, again, completely doable, and the game itself is really satisfying and a lot of fun, but because of this achievement, I'm going to bump it up to the hard tier. I don't think it's infuriating, but it is a little annoying to complete. Alright guys, I've talked about a crap ton of games in this video, so many that I've honestly lost count. It's more than 100, alright, that's for sure. But for the final title, I really wanted to go out with a bang. And that's exactly what I did. Out of all the titles I fully completed, Team Fortress 2 is without a shadow of a doubt the hardest and most brutal one. Imagine The Binding of Isaac Rebirth with all the DLC, combined with Doom 2016 multiplayer, combined with The Quarry, combined with Dead Rising 7-Day Survivor achievements times 5 and Raft's repetitive grind achievements. Set on fire, dunked in acid, covered in red poison and cat urine, and then spat on. That's what TF2 TF2 achievements are about in a nutshell. So many of these are absolutely dreadful. Flight cancelled, Metal Massacre, all the win X amount of round achievements, Operation High Dive and Project Excelsior, Severed Ties, Running with Scissors and On the Rocks, The Great Deflate, Blockbuster, Drugstore Cowboy, Marasmus Multi-Dimensional Television, Foul Territory, Full Spectrum Warrior, and I can go on and on and on and on. If you have ever tried to achievement hunt in TF2, you know that trying to do it legit is basically impossible. And even when you try to cheese it by farming it out, it is still so absurd. But you know what? I did do it, and I'm goddamn proud of myself. Still easiest infuriating tier of my life. Like, Jesus Christ, man. If this video should teach you anything, is that achievement hunting can be quite a struggle at certain points, but it doesn't dictate how fun a game is. There are fun games in all of these tiers, and yes, some of them do achievement hunting better than others, but I think that's kind of the charm of them. Some titles will have impossibly hard achievements to get, while others might not even bother adding them. It's all about perspective and how the developer wants the player to tackle your game, and I think that's really neat. This video has been in the making for multiple years, and it sure has been one hell of a journey. So if you ever wanted to support me, you can rub your oily, greased up hands on the subscribe button down below. It really does help. And maybe also get some free gamer subs while you're down there. You might as well, you know. Anyway, if you would please excuse me, I got a job to do. That job being completing another 700 or so more games. See you guys in about 20 years or so. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.